Mariners spring training on Root Sports is presented by Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds.
I have to admit, the blue skies make me a little green with envy. The Mariners are getting set to take down the Royals in Peoria. And temperatures are supposed to get just about to 70 today. This is the Mariners' final midweek game at home. They play the rest under the lights in Peoria midweek. Hi, everybody. Welcome as we are just about a week into games down in spring training. Angie Mentink, along with our senior baseball analyst, Bill Kruger. And guys seem to be working out the kinks, Bill, at least those that are healthy.
Yeah, that looks so good. I could like to thaw out. Man, it's been so cold here. But yes, the players, they're starting to get their game feet underneath them, so to speak, their game legs. You're going to see the regulars playing a little bit more. And injury bug, it's a little bit there, but I don't think it's anything major to worry about.
Folks, I think you should get familiar with the top of today's order because Scott Service may just print off lineup cards with 1 through 5 already inked. D and Gene, they are setting the table for Robbie, Boomstiff, and Seager. Mike Zunino's going to bat 6, catching, and we will see Matt Haig out at first base today, speaking of injuries. All right. That D. Gordon-Gene Segura combination stuff, I want to focus on that just a little bit because that's something to look forward to this season for Mariner fans. If these guys can perform anywhere near the level they did last year, they'll be setting the table often for the guys in the middle of the order. Both hit 300 or better, combining for 74 extra base hits, 82 steals, and a 6.2 wins above replacement. Bill, that is a pretty nifty combo up top.
Could be one of the best table setters in all the game, this new combination. A lot of speed, and as you mentioned, both hitting over 300. Gene Segura is the machine. He missed about 100 at-bats last year, and that kept him off some of his bigger numbers. I do think that he probably won't be let loose too early on the stolen base side of the equation because they're going to protect his legs. But certainly D. Gordon, he's all about that. That guy gets to first, and he is panting and salivating about getting to second. A 60 stolen base year last year. He could do it again. He could be the best in the game. I think the two of them are going to have a lot of fun together. Gordon's going to take off, and you can just see the fact that pitchers are going to have to be aware of him. They're going to throw a lot of slide step fastballs, and Segura is going to be lining that baseball all over the place. Watch that ball in the right fielder's hand, and Gordon's already at third.
I'm excited. It's fun to imagine the possibilities with the top of this lineup. You have to be thrilled if you are Gene Segura. I mean, pitchers, as you mentioned, can't help but be preoccupied with D. Gordon at first. And then, oh, yeah, you got Robbie Cano behind you, so it's not like, oh, I got first base open. No, you got Robbie right behind him. For more on the Mariners shortstop, we head down to Peoria and connect with Dave Sims and Mike Blowers.
Let's talk about the impact of Gene Segura, the shortstop. He's signed a 5-year contract extension. We're going to have him for a while, which is good. He was a 300 hitter last year. How do you see him this year?
Well, I think if you consider the 300 average that you talked about, 30 doubles, 11 home runs, he had 22 stolen bases, scored 80 runs. Those numbers you would take from anybody at this point, especially at the top of your lineup. But consider this. He only played in 125 games last year. In his career coming into Seattle, he's been in that 145, 150 range. So you throw another 20, 25 games on there, those numbers improve. Probably gets him close to scoring 100 runs last year. I think that right now when you look at him, staying healthy is going to be the key for him. And that's a difficult thing to manage at times, especially because he plays shortstop, a premium defensive position, and his big asset is his ability to run. So I think if they can keep him healthy, you have a dynamic player at the top of your lineup.
What do you like about his ability to hit? Because there were stages last year where he was the leading hitter in the American League.
Well, I think the main thing is he's an aggressive hitter. And when you think about on-base percentage, it was about 350 last year. He's not a guy that's up there looking for the walk, although at times he will take it. He had over 30 last year, but he wants to swing the bat. He uses the entire field. So I think if you look at the lineup, especially the guys that are behind him, at the rate that he is going to get on base, especially if he's healthy, his ability to run, they're going to get a lot of RBIs. And I think if you ask any of them, whether it's Robbie, Nelson, or Kyle, they smile every time they mention his name.
You know, you're looking at a bunch of hungry hitters that will be following Gene Segura in that batting order.
All right, guys, looking forward to it. As for who the Royals are rolling out there today, Adalberto Mondesi, yes, that's the son of former big leaguer Raul Mondesi. He will lead off. He's the only player to make his major league debut in a World Series game. How about that? Go get him. And our friend Michael Saunders will bat 6. The former Mariner just recently signed a minor league deal with the Royals. You know, well, so much of the Mariners bullpen this season is already set in stone, but what about all of those guys battling for the final spots? Bill breaks down how to make yourself stand out in the competition when we return. First pitch, just minutes away.
From icons of the
En Route Sports is brought to you by Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds. By Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by Fred Meyer.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out. Hey, he struck him out. Rock and roll. Struck him out.
Mike Leake making his second start of the spring today. Of course, the hair is shorter this year after turning in a very good 2-inning performance his first time around. He is up against Birch Smith of the Royals. As for Leake, we heaped a ton of praise on him throughout Saturday's game. So today we turn our attention to those guys who will follow him up in this afternoon's game. And we should see Chase DeYoung, Chasen Bradford, and Casey Lawrence, among others, perhaps. Bill, you want to make an impression to snag one of these final spots if you're a pitcher, but is the best idea there to just be steady, or do you have to find a way to make guys swing and miss to stand out?
Well, I think everybody always wants to make them miss. There's no doubt about that. But I think when you think about that 8th spot, you're looking for someone that throws strikes, that can pitch to lefties and righties, and can pitch multiple innings. That kind of leads to guys that we're going to see today, like Chase DeYoung or Casey Lawrence. Both have had, some success mopping up and pitching multiple innings. That's why I think it's probably going to come down to one of those starting pitchers that doesn't make the 5th spot. Maybe it's a Marco Gonzalez. Maybe it's an Ariel Mirandez that give you that 8th guy that if you starter gets knocked out early, they could pitch 3, 4, or 5 innings for you and really keep the rest of that elite part of your bullpen intact.
Yeah, one of the things these guys can't afford to tinker with things. Hey, I wonder if I can throw my changeup in this count, in this situation. No, they have to know they can do that. They don't have that veteran flexibility. All right, they are just about set for first pitch. So let's get you down to Peoria and connect with Dave Simpson, Mike Flowers. Guys?
And Angie and Bill, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Good to have you with us. Mariner baseball, the sunny skies, mostly sunny skies, blue sky here in Peoria, Arizona. As you look at Mike Leake. Mr. Leake making his second spring start. He looked good in the first outing last week against the White Sox, Mike.
He looked terrific. Had great command of his fastball. Was able to work both sides of the plate. We even saw him elevate the fastball. You mentioned a couple of innings. Scott Service saying this morning he'd like to see him go 3 innings today. And typically with the way that he pitches, that should not be a problem.
Adalberto Mondesi, the leadoff hitter. And I said, they got a new guy. And I said, wait a minute. He's using his middle name now to distinguish himself from his daddy, Raul Mondesi, who you played with the Dodgers.
Yeah, former teammate of mine. Excellent right fielder.
And Leake makes short work, 1 down.
Well, looked like the elevated fastball again, talking about in his last outing. He will use all parts of the strike zone. Got a fastball away, then the breaking ball, and comes right back. Fastball, probably belt high, get a strikeout.
You were mentioning Scott Service said he'd like to see him, go 2, maybe more. I happened to come in at the
3.
same time,
yeah.
3 or more,
yeah.
and I saw Leake today, and I said, how many are you going today? Big smile, 3. 3. Remember when we had him on the other day after his outing, as you look at Whit Merrifield, he said, hey, it's up to us old-timers, our veteran guys, teach these young guys how to get deep into a ball game. With the trend, we're right in the middle of that trend now, right?
Yeah, and I think if you think about all the different moves, and it's been a lot to think about that Jerry has made, Jerry DiPoto, over the last couple of years. Mike Leake may be the most important just because of the health issues they have had. Mike is somebody that traditionally will be 190 to 200. He wants to stay in the ball game. He can be really efficient with his pitching and try to get the ball on the ground, have some quick innings. So he could be really important to this pitching staff this year. And going to try to go 3 innings today against fastball right around 90.
Merrifield line drive. Will drop in front of Kirk Nieuwenhuis, base hit. You talk about Leake, you talk about innings, and look at his career. It's a lot of innings that he's put up by today's standards. 167, 179, 192, 214 back in 2014 with the Reds. 136, 176, and last year 176 and change.
Something that this rotation needs. But you were talking about it. You have to like his mindset when he takes the mound. The pitch count doesn't matter to him. Of course, it does to the pitching coach and the manager. But his intention is to go out there and get as deep as he possibly can. He's not looking for any help.
Alex Gordon, one of the few remaining names from the championship team that the Royals put together a couple of years ago when they beat the Mets in the World Series. 2-2. Kansas City wins the World Series in 2015. 4 games to 1 over the Mets. Then they come back in 2016. They go 81-81, and then last year 80-82, third place in the Central behind Cleveland and Minnesota. But gone, we saw Eric Hosmer the other day. He's now with San Diego. Mike Moustakas still has yet to sign with anybody. He thought he had an in at Anaheim and maybe even the Yankees. Line drive, that'll get down into the gap. As D. Gordon goes over to get it. And he'll keep Gordon at first. So Kansas City brewing something here in the first inning. 1 out, runners at the corners.
Lorenzo Cain is gone.
He went to Milwaukee. Yeah, it's a big difference. And in that Central Division, they got to contend with Cleveland and Minnesota at the top, and then you got these guys, Detroit, Chicago, probably going to bring up, no doubt, bring up the rear. Jorge Soler, the DH. The Cubs a few years ago. Here's a strike. Home plate umpire today, Roberto Ortiz. On the bases, Ed Hickox, Chris Guccione, and Pat Hoberg. Ernest looking for a double play here. Swing and a miss, breaking ball.
It seems like a small thing, but we've talked about it with D. Gordon in center field. A position change for him. He's been a second baseman at the major league level and playing center field. He's played a lot this spring and really done a nice job. And a lot of talk has been how's he going to track the fly ball. And there are little things out there that he's going to have to get used to. And you mentioned there's a good pitch right there on the outside corner. You mentioned trying to get the double play instead of pick up a strikeout. But for D, I thought that was a nice play on the base hit to center field, knowing that the runner was going to try to go first to third. He didn't charge too hard, didn't try to make a play that is not quite there for him. Instead, make sure you catch the ball, get it into second base right away, hold the runner to first, especially with a pitcher like Leake on the mound, get the ground ball that possibly get the double play and get out of the inning. Mike picks up a strikeout, but the little things like that, that is the teaching part of it, and there's a timing part of it when you haven't been out there.
Tell you what, fans are going to like him.
Yes.
Good conversation with him today. I said I really tip my cap to you during BP. You stand out there and take fly balls. You track everything down. I said I learned something when every ball hit to me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he's pretty much born and raised in the clubhouse. His daddy, Flash Gordon, terrific starter and reliever in his 21-year career. Jorge Bonifacio, the right fielder. Here's Segura. Goes short way, and that'll do it. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, and a couple left. Aaron's coming to bat. Glad you're with us here from Peoria, Arizona.
And here you have a Bon Me-inspired
It's the Kansas City Royals, and a lot of familiar names in this starting lineup today for the Mariners, Mike.
Yeah, 6 regulars in the lineup, including Gordon and Segura, somebody that we talked about on the pregame show. Kyle Seager will hit 5th, off to a hot start this spring. And Ian Miller, what a year he had last year, including leading all minor leaguers with 43 stolen bases. He will round out the 9 for the Mariners.
Here is D. Gordon. He'll be facing Birch Taylor Smith out of San Antonio, Texas, 6'4", 215, 27 years old. D with a strong start, hitting at 500, 4 for 8, scored 3 runs. He's got 8 total bases, hit a home run, 3 runs batted in. Let's keep a count of his bunts this year. Bunt attempts and how many he keeps fair, because I think he's I have him the games I've been to. He's 2 for 2.
2 for 2, and he also has a swinging bunt base. It's
right.
Infield hits is what you're going to count up this year. There's a bunt.
Kept it. Oh, almost went. You know, I talked
and if
about,
it was fair right there, that's a base hit. There's nothing that they can do about it.
Don't even bother throwing.
Right.
He hit the home run. Said it was great. He says, you know, home runs are great, but I want to hit 300, which he's done a couple of times. And Scott Service, obviously glad to have him on this ball club. The speed dimension that he brings should score a whole bunch of runs.
Well, if he hits 300, you have Segura waiting on deck, who hit 300 for the Mariners last year. So that's a nice combination at the top of the lineup.
And there's yet to attempt the stolen base, so maybe we'll see something like that today. He's got the count 2-2. And that's the other thing. They're not playing deep, but you know, he can slap the ball line to line. Outfield of Saunders, Gordon, and Bonifacio. So look at Bert Smith, who's got limited experience in the big leagues with San Diego. 3 called. 1 down.
And just a well-located fastball. 2-seamer on the outside corner.
Bert Smith with San Diego in the 13 season, 1-3 in 10 games, 7 starts. A 6.44 ERA. Here's Gene Segura. Breaking ball for a strike.
Butera doing the catching, a veteran, typical backup catcher, but he's been around for a long time. Nice job of framing the fastball to get Gordon.
His dad Sal, pretty good catcher in his day. Can catch up the high heat.
We talk about it all the time about left-handers throwing strikes. Defensively, if you can catch it, throw it, call a good game, you could be a backup catcher in this league for a long time. You have quality defense.
It's like being a long snapper in the NFL. You can stick around 15, 20 years if you do it right.
There you go.
Pat Borders comes to mind.
Yeah, former Mariner.
Yep. Had some good years with Toronto as well. 1-2 pitch.
Smith with a good fastball. LS fastball, 95 miles an hour.
Smith picked up a trade with the Mets mid-December.
Really like to see Gene stay healthy this year. Talked about him hitting 300 pre-game show. 22 stolen bases for him. He scored 80 runs, 30 doubles, 11 home runs. Just can do a lot of things for you. But just 125 games.
Yeah.
Typically he'll be in that 145, 150 range. I'd like to see him do that this year.
He draws a walk. A couple of stints on the DL last year in April. Strained strained right hammy, and then June 2 to June 21 last year, a high right ankle sprain.
Yeah, and that's tough. A big part of his game is his speed. When the trade was made for him, ready to pull, that's the one thing he talked about, his ability to run the bases, his ability to steal bases, and he had to be really careful last year. Still had 22 steals and scored 80 runs, but I'd like to see him stay healthy this year. His leg's a big part of his game.
As we talked about, glad to have him. Signed a 5-year contract extension. So I still think back to those great plays he made in Houston.
Yes.
Game savers, kept the game moving into extra innings. Ball gets away from the first baseman. Gene's going to make a run for it. Here's the throw, and he's there. And that one gets away, but it's backed up by Michael Saunders. Gene Segura draws a throw, and it makes it work for the Mariners.
Well, that was the one thing you were mentioning, his defense, Dave, and When he was playing for Arizona, he was playing second base, and so a lot of people were wondering what he was going to be like at shortstop. And you mentioned the game against Houston. I thought he showed some range last year, has a strong throwing arm. And again, it's not an easy position to play if your legs don't feel good, and you had to deal with that a couple of times last year.
Robinson Cano, the hitter. Robbie on the season, 0 for 3. Played just 2 games. Walked a couple times, struck out once. Serves it left center field. Late start by Segura. And Scott Brocious will hold him at third. Mariners have a nice setup for Nelson Cruz.
I'll take a look at the swing by Robbie, going the other way, stays on it. Change up, out over the plate. A lot of movement to it, probably off the outside corner. Just taking advantage of the big hole on the left side of the infield. I think that's probably a base hit that Segura will score on during the season. They'll pay closer attention to what the defenders are doing. The shortstop actually was going over it almost like a pickoff. And if he didn't know when he was standing there, he would have taken off right away, but he wasn't sure. And I think during the year, I think he'll pay attention to that and he'll score on that base hit.
Nelson Cruz, the RBI leader in the American League, 119 last year. Popped it up and it's playable. With Merrifield for the out. They'll bring up Kyle Seager, the third baseman. Seager up to a hot start, 5 for 8. Still looking for the first home run. He's got an RBI.
And he has used the entire field. He had 4 of those hits in the first 2 games that he played, going the other way, back up the middle. Finally pulled the ball through the right side to pick up his 5th hit.
65 degrees here in Peoria. Slight breeze blowing out towards left center. Kansas City has won its last 3 spring games. Beat Cincinnati yesterday 3-2. Mariners lost 4-2 to Cleveland over in Goodyear. Happy first day in March, everybody. Starting to see more and more Mariner fans making their way down here to Peoria to enjoy spring training. And Mike, you and I have been keeping an eye on that weather forecast. When's it gonna heat up?
Well, we were talking about it this morning, and you and I usually show up on the 1st of March. We've already been here for a week. But things have turned around. Beautiful day today. Looks like the weather's going to continue to be nice.
Trend is definitely upward. 2-1 here to Kyle Seager. What do you think of Kyle's year last year at with the glove and with the stick?
I think for Kyle, and this is something Scott talked about the other day, that you have to remember with him, with everything that he has done in his career, he's going to go down as one of the top Mariners all time. He signed a long-term deal. He's going to be around for a while. He's consistently in that 25 home run range. You know, he's already won a Gold Glove, been an All-Star. I just like the adjustments he makes from year to year. Really did a lot of damage to left-handers. That was something that was a bit of a concern. He had all that figured out. I just think he continues to improve, and I think he has a year where he's going to hit close to 300, if not hit 300 one year. One of the biggest adjustments he had to make once he became an everyday third baseman is he wanted to pull the ball more because it's a power position. He wanted to hit for more power because when he first came up, he sprayed it around, higher average. Well, he's been able to do that, and now for him, I think the next step for him is to get that average up 280, 290 in that 300 range because he's capable of doing it. But it's not an easy adjustment to pull the ball with authority and still hit for a high average, especially early in your career. One of the guys that I can remember doing that as somebody that you have watched and know well is Don Mattingly. When Donnie came up with the same thing as a first baseman, he sprayed it around, but they wanted to take care of that short porch in New York, and he learned to pull the ball. And I was talking to him about it. He said it took him a few years to get back to where he felt comfortable with all those different things that were going on. And I think Kyle's probably in the same boat at this point in his career.
3-2 pitch here. Cano takes off. And a comebacker right to Smith, and that'll do it. Mariners strand a couple to the 2nd inning. We go here in Peoria. Glad you're with us here in Mariner Baseball. Look what happened. The weather guys were all over it. They said there was a storm brewing in Southern California and it was going to blow east. And boy, did it. Look at those clouds, and there's some low-hanging clouds, and then look at just an unbelievable mass that just came in. Rained like crazy overnight. So a tip of the cap to the weather forecasters. They nailed it that day. Familiar face right here, Michael Saunders. This last Tuesday, he's sitting with the Pittsburgh organization signing up, and they said, oh, by the way, we're in the process of signing Corey Dickerson. What? Signed him. That was like Tuesday. Friday, he's with Kansas City after Pittsburgh dropped him. Go! Part of the game of baseball, Michael.
Yeah, I think from what I understand, they were straightforward with him, let him know that that's something that might be possible, and if that were to happen, they would probably cut him loose. And he still signed the contract, but what you're talking about, he was released but picked up right away by Kansas City, so it's good to see him in camp.
202 in 73 games with Philly and Toronto. We saw him for a game last year. Robbie, on a shift, throw him out. One away. Former Mariner retired. Robbie Cano, MVP of the All-Star game last year. Dramatic late game home run. Feeling good coming into this season. And one guy we look forward to seeing soon in that lineup to the left of Robinson Cano, Ryan Healy. Ryan, welcome to Mariners TV. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
How's that with the hand? You had the bone spurs taken out. How are you progressing to get back in the starting lineup?
You know, it's been a tedious 2 weeks so far, but you know what, the training staff here has done a tremendous job helping me, just physically and mentally, getting me locked in as I can for the season without actually being on the field every single day. So it's been an interesting progress for me, just trying to find little positives every day with whether it be range of motion, strength, whatever it is. So day-to-day battle.
Ryan, obviously with your hand, you're not able to swing it, but what sorts of things have you been able to do so that when you get back to where you're able to start playing again, you're in pretty good shape? A lot of people think because they're not seeing you that you're not doing much and just getting treatment on your hand. What are some of the things you've been able to do baseball-wise?
Oh, I can assure you guys that I'm doing everything in my power, and that the people here will let me do. I'm starting to take ground balls outside, which is huge for me. Hopefully next week I can start stepping in the cage and grabbing a bat, whether it be with one or two hands, just trying to get in the rhythm of things. Obviously, a lot of my time is spent in the weight room, in the training room, so making sure my body's in the best shape possible so that when the transition back onto the field happens, that I'm ready to rock. We saw you last year at the beginning of the year. You were at third base, I believe, and then you switched back over to first base, and obviously first is what you're going to play here. How did that transition go for you last year, and how much do you like playing first base? I love playing first base. I mean, it's kind of been my home my entire career. Even through the minor leagues, I played first and third every season. It was really until I got to the big leagues when I played third base every single day. So, I'm not really worried about the transition. It's kind of been where I've, called home my entire life. So I'm excited to be able to play there every day. Ryan, I remember you'd done well against the Mariners last year, and I remember saying on air, I said, man, he reminds me of Troy Gloss, and it turned out he was your guy growing up, right? The big big hitter with the Angels some years ago. Definitely someone that I watched a ton, being an LA guy, watching the Dodgers and the Angels a lot. Troy Glass was someone that I loved watching, just played the game so fluid and smooth, and obviously very, very successful what he did. And you're about the almost exact same size. What was the big key last year, your breakout year, 271, 25 homers, and 78 RBIs? It was just finding a way to mentally and physically compete at the big league level every single day. I feel like I learned a lot, and I really didn't leave last year excited about what I did. So I feel like there's a lot more in the tank, and that's what I'm excited to come out here and improve to a lot of people. Even with the minor setback that I've had with this hand surgery, I'm excited to what's going to be happening moving forward. This isn't a long-term thing that I want to deal with. This is a speed bump that's going to, really catapult me forward, I think, this season and beyond. Good attitude. Another question I had for you. Joining this ball club, now you competed against the Mariners. You got a chance to get a good look at them. Now you are one. What's your thoughts on being here with this club and what you've seen to this point? Even the short time that I've been here, not being able to be on the field, the guys are just incredible. The vibes around the clubhouse from the front office all the way down, it's just the vibe is winning. Everybody wants to win. That's the goal. And it's really fun to be a part of a group that is just here to do that. You know, whatever it takes every single day. Everybody wants to win, and you know that's how we're gonna have more fun, is by winning.
Yeah. Ryan, have you and Scott had a conversation about where you're going to hit in the lineup, or maybe what his expectations are for you?
No, and I don't think we're trying to do that right now. Obviously, health is the main goal. We'll worry about that when we get there, and I think it'll come to a point where there might be a couple, spots in the lineup that rotate a little bit just based off of who's hot or whatever it may be. Obviously, it's my first year here, so soon to learn on the fly in that regard, but we have some very fundamentally sound big leaguers that are veterans that are going to be in their positions. So just trying to round out the lineup is going to be a blast for us, the younger guys down there. So I think we're all looking forward to the abilities coming up.
Well, that was impressive. Mike Leake, good athlete, picks off the runner at second. Cuthbert, that was a fine play.
Here comes the guys.
That was good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Ryan, thanks so much, man. Welcome to Seattle. Welcome to Mariner family here, and we look forward to getting you back out on the field, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
Have you heard about Bruce Titus?
Very comfortable day here in Peoria. Mike Zunino leads off. Swing and a miss. Z-Man looking for his first hit of the spring. 0 for 6. Oh, and 2. Zunino, Neuenhuis, and Matt Haig, 6, 7, and 8 here for the Mariners in the second inning. Nice play by Mike Leake and Robbie Cano to pick off Cuthbert at second base to end top half of this inning. One and 2. Breakout year for Mike Zunino last year. Takes outside, 2 and 2.
And for Mike last year, 50 extra base hits. 25 home runs for him.
And 25 doubles. And takes a called third strike. Bert Smith with his second strikeout, both looking. You got Gordon to open the home first. So Bert Smith, one career win in the big leagues, beat Atlanta, beat the Braves in Atlanta September 15th of 2013.
So far today, has pretty good stuff. He stopped out at 95 miles an hour. He's mixed his fastball up 91 to 95, including a two-seamer. Seen his changeup and a couple of breaking balls.
Kirk Neuenhuis, 0 for 8 on the spring. Big league experience with the Mets and most recently Milwaukee. Ball and 2 strikes to Kirk. Doing nice with Milwaukee for 16 games last year. 125 the year before. 2 games with the Angels in the 15th season. Broke in the big leagues with the Mets. Career .221 hitter. Count runs full.
I think this is the first day for us where it's just been a nice little breeze. The wind has been blowing here over the last week. Made it difficult for the outfielders, but a nice day for them today.
Yeah, it was gusting. 20 miles an hour plus. First couple, it was at last Friday, Saturday.
How'd you do with your knockdown shot?
I haven't worked on it yet.
Really?
The wind kept me out. The wife came in. We've been doing our due diligence around here.
You're just waiting
chilling.
for the weather to change.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah, a big factor. Been played since December. I'm sure you got it down by now, right?
I've been out there a few times. I'm not gonna let the wind bother me.
Hell, you just hit it right through it. 3 strikeouts here for Bert Smith.
Next week, Dave, be a good time for you. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all night games for us. That's the first time.
It has been duly noted.
Yeah.
Matt Haig, 2 for 10 thus far with a homer and an RBI in the spring. Matt Haig started his college career at Oklahoma State, then finished up 3 years at UW, University of Washington. Could not hold up.
Pretty good fastball. That one elevated above the belt. Mentioned the games next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night games. It'll be 5:30 Pacific.
Whole new wrinkle here.
Yeah.
Rest and recovery, sleep science. Whoa, up and in. 3-1. That wasn't that long ago that you were playing. You didn't play that many night games.
Maybe one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not many at all. Well,
I understand.
They don't miss anything in today's game. We talk about analytics all the time, and the sleep and what these guys are eating and their workout programs and all the different things that go into it. Man, earns a walk, and then just want these guys to be ready for the night game during the season. That's when they're going to play the most of them. And one of the things that I've talked about is you can only do so much, and as a player, you can't control a lot, and weather being a problem is one of them. And the time change, typically, you mentioned when I was playing, you'd have to get used to that again because these guys they're here in the ballpark. Some of them are in the batting cages in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No doubt about it.
And all of a sudden you're playing at 7 o'clock at night. So it's probably a good idea to give them a chance to get under the lights. More importantly, to try to help their bodies out.
I love hearing, I forget who told the story, but no more of that. Hey, I beat Skip to the ballpark at 5:30. No more of that stuff. I mean,
exactly.
You read all these stories about some legendary players. Yeah, I thought I was getting there. I thought I was being industrious. I get there at 6:15. He's already been here 5:30 for crying out loud. And you learn, talking about older guys or younger guys talking about older guys that they look up to. Ian Miller playing in left field today.
Had a really good year last year. A-ball and double-A. Take a look at Michael Saunders in left field. They mentioned it earlier. Originally signed with Pittsburgh, was released, and now in camp with Kansas City. But Ian Miller, the Ken Griffey Jr. Award, top offensive player in the minor leagues, had 43 stolen bases last year.
And we just saw our first mound visit. Who would have thought we'd be keeping track of that, but that's where we are. Normally, I wouldn't even
You're going to have to put a category in your scorebook so that you can mark it down along the way.
I was talking to somebody about that. That's exactly right. That will go foul.
You were talking about it at the start of the game, too, as D. Gordon's waiting on deck. And we saw him try to bunt his first time up, but it's earlier in camp. Ian Miller, a couple of the other younger guys were with D. Gordon working on their bunting.
Well, it's a great weapon.
Well, and Ian, we had a chance to talk to Ian. He was talking about it. He seemed thrilled, first of all, to be able to do some work with D and spend some time and pick his brain and learn things. But obviously for Gordon, new to this organization, I thought it was great that he was out there with them, not only working on his own stuff, but letting them get involved and helping the younger guys.
Hand it forward. 2-1 pitch, 2-out runner at first. Make sure you get your tickets, folks. Opening day will be upon us before you know it. Today's March 1. Open the season against the Cleveland Indians on March 29th, 7:10 start. Day off on Friday. Saturday, Sunday games. Then we go away to San Francisco, Minnesota, and Kansas City. And then come home for Oakland and Houston. Great time of year. Spring training heating up. You got March Madness will start. Already has at the conference level. Big tournament in a couple of weeks. Runner goes. Pitch. Strike 3 call. Strikes out the side. Walks one. Leaves one. Stranded. Bert Smith off to a good start. Scoreless ball game. Things we like about spring training, we get to talk to guys during games, and right now Mike Margman, Mariners catcher, joins us right now. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you. For you, how's spring training been going to this point?
You know, I think it's been going well. Just trying to get some work in, clean up some things, especially you know, on both sides of the ball, get to learn the staff, and more than anything is just, you know, trying to get a little bit better every day.
Where do you feel like you're at offensively?
Offensively, I still feel like there's some things I need to hone in on, just timing-wise, but mechanically-wise, it's just, you know, staying consistent, staying with the process every day, and working on the same things, and you know, really trying to just fine-tune everything right now.
I thought about it this morning. We get an opportunity to get a list of some guys that we may get to talk to, and it was a long time ago for me, Mike, but I came to camp, and I came in as basically I was going to be the emergency catcher, but I had to catch all those bullpens early on. And then I had to go and try to hit. And I was just wondering, thinking about you, you know, what's tougher, the defensive side, where are your legs at, or trying to go up there and hit because your legs are done?
You know, I think it's kind of funny, though, because we always, you know, focus in on, hey, it's all the priority comes behind the plate, right? So, you know, we're all sitting there, hey, we're gonna fine tune everything behind the plate. And then when you get up to hit, it's like, okay, just go have fun. So, which is great for me, being a guy that's like, you know, very perfectionist, over analytic a lot of times. You know, where some things are in my swing, it's just like, you know what, screw it, go up there and just enjoy it. right? I'm not behind the plate squatting down. Not that it's a bad thing, but just go enjoy your at-bats.
That's what you and I were talking with Rick Rizzi the other day about that same thing. Remember, we were talking about Jeff Pentland, who said, cut the head off, let the body work.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's when the best things happen. I feel like the best hitters, you know, it's like, hey, what were you trying to do right there? And they're like, I was just trying to see the ball and hit it. So, yeah, that's really all we're trying to do right now.
What's it like for you when you get into camp? And it'll obviously be easier during the season because you won't have as many guys. But, you're not sure when you're going to go into the game, or maybe you have an idea, but you're not sure who you're going to catch, and maybe it's somebody you've never seen before. Can you talk to the fans, especially if it's somebody you haven't seen, on what it's like to go back there and get this kid through an inning?
Yeah, you know, I think it's like the other day with Pazos. I'd never been able to catch him at all in a game. So going out there is we kind of know, the more you catch guys, you get to know where their mistakes are, maybe where, you know, on a certain day they might be a guy that just tends to cut balls a lot. So you kind of know where their tendencies lie. But when you don't catch a guy, you really don't know what their, you know, maybe their slider is or their changeup. So sometimes, and now with the new in-between innings is, you know, you'll go into an inning and they have a pitch left, maybe just where the last out, and you go out there and you've never seen the guy's breaking ball. He doesn't throw into you. So the first one's in the game, and you're just sitting there kind of like, you know, just you're just going with the fly, I think. So, you know, for the most part, it's really just getting to know guys. Try to get in there and catch as many sides as you can, talk with them the most, and really just try to get on. I mean, that's pitching and catching relationship, right? Is just getting to know each other and get that dynamic going.
All right, walk me through first big league homer, October 1 last season in Anaheim in the 8th inning.
Oh my gosh. Well, my first 2 at-bats, I think I was just really trying to feel some stuff out. I think just one of those things, you know, Pax was throwing a gem, catching a decent game, and I was like, you know what? I was just thinking about things too much. My last at-bat, I was like, you know what? Screw it. Just kind of like I was just talking about, is go out there and just put a good swing on it, to see the ball and do what you do. And then when it left the bat, I was like, come on, you know, get it going. And I rewatch it, and someone, you know, I was just like, I think I maybe caught some people by surprise, maybe.
You caught me by surprise.
Well, yeah,
I'm not going to
like,
lie to you.
Oh, impressive. Just like, man, I got it.
Did you get the ball?
I did. I got the ball. We gave the fan a bunch of stuff afterwards so I could get the ball. And so Seager was kind enough to get the lineup card framed for me and everything.
Cool.
So I was fortunate enough to be able to have that.
Did you keep the ball? Did you give it to your dad or anybody, or what'd you do with it?
So it's in my dad's office. It's all framed up and everything. You know, for him being able to, you know, work some extra jobs and stuff, for me to even just be able to play Little League and play baseball and those type of things. So for him to be able to do that for me, I felt like the least I could do is just give him that ball and have him, you know, shoot. He came to the Safeco, my call up, and so it was pretty cool to go.
So next time I see him, he'll still be pretty chesty, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Mike, thanks, man.
No problem.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me, guys.
Good to have you on. Be well.
Thanks,
Mike Margina joining us. Mike Leake fielding his position quite well. Scoreless ball game.
Look
in a scoreless game between the Royals and the Mariners. Angie Mentink here along with Bill Kruger. And as the players get set for the upcoming season, so do we. And Major League Baseball will be sending 6 new names to Cooperstown this year. Sadly, Edgar Martinez, not one of those 6, but we're going to be talking about all of them, starting with the guy who got the highest vote percent, and that is Chipper Jones. But I guess he was a little bit like Edgar Martinez, Bill, in that he spent his entire professional career with one team.
And to me, that means a lot. He's a mainstay, a real hero in the Atlanta community. Played on championship teams. I mean, he's an automatic, a guy that hit well over 400 home runs, an MVP, over 300 batting average, and did it as a switch hitter. And, you know, as you think about switch hitters, and you can think of some of the guys that were more table setter hitters like Raines and Rose, but when you think about the guys that I think are on Mount Rushmore, the guys that hit for high average, are in the Hall of Fame and did it with power. Think about Mantle, think about Eddie Murray, and then you think about Chipper Jones. So I think, and certainly, I can't comment on how difficult it is to switch hit, but I know it definitely is, and it's an added component which makes him even more special. But I think he was very highly regarded by his peers, by his teammates. He played hurt. He played championship baseball. Certainly, Mike will be able to comment a lot more on his ability to play third base, and probably someone that he knows a heck of a lot about. So I won't take any of that thunder away from you, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, as we bring you guys in down there in Peoria, the Braves teams that he played for won 11 straight division titles from '95 to 2005. What do you remember about him as a player?
Well, I can remember when everybody was talking about him just to get him signed, and he was going to be a first-round pick, and you saw a lot about him, and I was just kind of wondering. Like a lot of third basemen, started off as a shortstop. And was a terrific defensive player, strong arm. All the things that Bill was talking about as far as a switch hitter, hitting for average and power. The thing that I appreciated about him, though, even though he was probably the biggest star in Atlanta for a long time, he played every single day. And as Bill mentioned, he played hurt. And they won a lot of baseball games with him right in the middle of the lineup, just a tremendous player.
Yeah, I mean, you think about who he played with and who he'll be joining in Cooperstown. Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Bobby Cox will also already be there. They'll be behind him as he's is making his speech. I mean, Dave, that's pretty incredible to think about the talent that was on that team, and he was still able to do what he was able to do.
Well, they had a great run down there in Atlanta, and always amazed me that you'd watch the playoffs, and they, what, 11, 12, 13, 14 years in a row they win a division. They never really sold it out. They never had a mania down there. I never considered Atlanta great, and I still don't consider it a great sports town, but that team, that organization was fantastic. And for me, being in New York during that time, and the Mets had some good teams, I just remember Larry Wayne Chipper Jones wore out the Mets, and he named one of his sons Shea because of all the damage he did at Shea. And the fans there got to a point where they celebrated and they saluted him. They had so much respect for him. It was a throwback to the days when Stan Musial became the man when he was playing against Brooklyn, because he used to wear the Dodgers out. So he's held in very high regard among New York Met fans.
I think that the thing about him, too, is you think about all those teams, and you think about the pitching right away. For just what Angie just mentioned, you listen to those names, but at some point you have to score runs, and he was a big part of all of that. Offensively hitting in the middle of that lineup, and those guys have a lot of wins. It's because of the way that he was able to swing the bat in that lineup. I can tell you this too. It was when I was with the Dodgers, and we were making it into the postseason, and obviously I'd hurt my knee and blown out my ACL. So I went to Atlanta, and I wasn't able to play. So I'm just leaning up against the cage while the guys were taking batting practice before one of the games, and it was pretty cool that Chipper came up to me and asked me how I was doing, and I said fine. And the fact that he had the same thing, the same surgery, kind of gave me a rundown as I'm going into the winter, what I was up against and the way things were going to go. That was really cool that he took the time, 5-10 minutes just to talk to me about a similar injury that he was able to work his way through. So a great guy.
That's great. And you love to hear guys making sure that they take the time and continue to sort of give back to the game. The National League MVP award, he won that in 1999. And think about, as a switch hitter, to be able to hit over 300. That's fantastic, Bill. I don't know how you keep both sides, going good. I don't think you really have them both going good, but then there are the exceptions, right? And we're talking about one of them in Chipper Jones. But Mike, I love that story, and I think there's a public persona that players have.
They're star players. They put up big numbers. They're idolized. But there's another persona, and that's the one that the players think about. And when you have the respect inside the game, like Mike, you have utmost respect for him. And I would imagine it's like that with a lot of players, and that's why Chipper Jones is a winner and why people love him so much.
Yeah, we'll again hit the other 5 names headed to Cooperstown throughout the game. But right now we're headed to the 4th inning. Is scoreless still between the Royals and the Mariners.
Evacuations.
Royals and the Mariners, top of the 4th here in Peoria, Arizona. An all-star performance deserves an all-star bobblehead. Make sure you join us Saturday, March 31st for Robinson Cano Bobblehead Day. Presented by Root Sports. First 20,000 fans will receive a collectible showcasing Robbie and his MVP award from last summer's Midsummer Classic. Tickets at mariners.com. Dave Sims, Mike Flowers, and company on hand here. Gordon Beckham joins us right now in the battle for the utility spot. But first, have you gotten over to Georgia Bulldogs not getting it done in the championship game yet?
Yeah, that stung a little bit. I actually went to the game, and you play so many games in baseball, you lose games. You know you're going to lose about 60 games a year, and losing is not as
traumatic.
Yeah, it's traumatic. And then I remember sitting down after the last play, and I'm like, oh, this is what that feels like, But it was definitely tough. But yeah, I mean, they had a great season. I'm glad they got there, and just got to win one more game next year.
I was just talking to you, and you're off to a great start this spring. 7-4-11, hitting the ball all over the place. What's been working for you?
I just think that I did a good job this offseason getting ready. I did a lot of work on my swing, really tried to work on mechanics and how I get to the ball. And I think I'm just doing a good job of staying square and not trying to just pull or not trying just to go the other way. I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. So it's been good so far. I like where I'm at. I mean, it's still early, and I'm still getting some good hits, So that's really encouraging for all the work that I did, for sure.
Did any of that have to do with you guys, knowing once you got here you weren't going to have much time, you were going to be right out there playing games right away? I talked to Scott Brocious a couple of days ago, and I know he was concerned about that, but obviously it hasn't bothered you at all.
Well, I mean, obviously being a non-roster invite, you got to come out and prove what you can do. And I mean, for me especially, I think over the last few years I just haven't hit very well. So the defense has never been really a question mark for me. It's always been the hitting. So I worked really hard on it, and I knew I had to come out swinging. So I'm glad it's worked out so far. But I feel confident in what I'm doing. I think that's the biggest thing, is I just feel confident in what I do and go out there and play the game and have fun. I mean, it's been fun to go up to the plate over the last couple days, which is something that kind of eluded me a few years prior.
Talk about the defensive side a little bit. Obviously, myself and a lot of the fans in Seattle are used to seeing you play second base every day, and I think sometimes it can be difficult. We've already seen you here in spring playing a number of different positions. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of done that over the last few years, so it's not anything anything new. It's I just try to bounce around each day and get something ground balls at different positions. You know, I usually stick to one a day and then, you know, just kind of go from that. But just make sure I get my work in.
Hey, let me ask you this about next week, where you have the 3 consecutive night games spring training. It's a little change from what you're used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, when they said that we had 12 night games this spring, that was definitely a big shock. But I think it's good. I mean, honestly, everybody says the same thing. We play nothing but day games all spring, and then all of a sudden you get to the season, you're playing pretty much nothing but night games. So I think it's going to be a positive thing for this team, and moving forward, it'll get us a little bit more prepared for those longer days. Because I remember at the beginning of the season, you know, you're just kind of like, you know, these long days or whatever, you're not used to it because you've been getting up at like 6 a.m. and
Yeah.
getting done by 4. And then all of a sudden you're expected to go out there and be ready to go at 7, which is where most of these guys are kind of winding down. I mean, at 7 p.m. at night, that's when we're winding down here in spring training.
You know, without a doubt. Overall, what are your thoughts on what you've seen so far in the limited time here at camp? I mean, it has, you know, things have started, the calendar's been shifting around a lot.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. I think that there's a lot of, you know, a lot of positives for this team. I mean, you know, we got a great group of guys, so hopefully it's something that we take into the season and do some really good things. But there's a lot of obviously great players, but I think that the clubhouse is gelling already. So I think that's a really positive thing, because you can't beat chemistry. I mean, if you have it, it really goes a long way to a winning season.
You're swinging a hot bat, man. Keep it going. Appreciate you joining us. Good to see you.
Good luck, Gordon. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Be good, man. Base hit for Bonifacio with 2 outs here in the 4th.
He's been swinging the bat great. I mentioned Kyle earlier, who's in the lineup today, but I think it's so difficult. And I liked what he said, that he knows he's coming in. He's trying to win a job here. He had to be prepared. You don't have time like a lot of the veteran guys that have an everyday role, and you have to be ready to go. And he certainly has been, because he's been swinging it great and playing great defense on top of that. So he's off to a good start, trying to win a job here.
Second time around for Michael Saunders, making his Kansas City debut. Rounded out to Cano back in the 2nd inning. Saunders with the Mariners from 2009 to 2014. Best season was 2012. He had 247, 19 homers, 57 runs batted in. Made the All-Star team with Toronto back in 2016. Had a terrific first half. Hit 298 with 16 homers and 42 runs batted in. Saw Michael in Philadelphia last May.
Well, it was just a few years ago. He was an all-star, and I think right now he's just hoping to stay healthy.
"31 years old now. Goes the other way for a base hit. Beats a shift. Miller gets it back in. Kansas City with a threat. First base coach for Kansas City is Mitch Mayer, who's a pretty good outfielder in his day. Takes Rusty Kuntz's place. Rusty, long time, and Mike, you go way back with Rusty. Mike Jersley at third. Rusty will be working at home games for Kansas City, and then when the Royals are on the road, he'll be spending time shuttling between a Double-A team in Arkansas and a Triple-A team in Omaha. He had a little eye problem and almost got smoked by a foul ball, I guess it was late last year. He said, you know what, it's time for me to take it down a notch.
He put in a lot of years, and terrific outfield coach. As you mentioned, first base coach for a long time. And I'm sure that when the Kansas City Royals are in town, he'll be there to work with the outfielders and get them squared away. But just a great baseball guy. I was in Seattle for a number of years. I know when you talk to Jay Buhner, he'll give him a lot of credit. So I'm sure that Rusty will miss it somewhat because he's been doing it his entire life, but it's a good thing too.
told he has files upon files upon files, information, guys, the whole thing. And one of the most engaging human beings you ever want to meet in the world of sports. 0-2 here, the count. Cuthbert. 1-2. Cuthbert with a double to left center fielder's first time up.
You can see the high target from Mike Zunino. That's on purpose. They want to get the ball up and in and move him off the plate. Typically with Lawrence, he wants to get you out with that slider away, or he'll backdoor the fastball. Pretty good sinker. So 0-2 count, just want to keep him honest.
Cuthbert, one of several guys in this lineup that have been waiting their turn the last few years. And Casey Lawrence strikes him out. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 left to go to the home fourth. Nelson Cruz will lead it off when we get back. Sports is brought to you by Steel. To find your local Steel dealer, visit steeldealers.com. And by Bill Curham's Puyallup Nissan, car buying as easy as Sunday morning. Good luck at Lake Powell. Not a whole lot of activity. There's one gentleman in the water enjoying himself, northern Arizona. And the great scenery we have here in the great state of Arizona. No scores. We go bottom 4. Here in Peoria with the Mariners taking on the Kansas City Royals. Here's Nelson Cruz. First pitch swinging, popped up to the first base. First at bat, looks at a strike. Had fun talking to Nelly. Tell me about your off-season workouts. Of course, you're working with a trainer known as Iron Glenn from New York. Worked with him in Miami, worked with him in Dominican Republic. Nelly said they'd go 10 days really hard, take a day off. Had to try to simulate the baseball season, stress the body and get it ready. He's down about 5 pounds at 237.
Yeah, he looks great.
And I said, what kind of stuff are you doing? He says, well, I take the hundreds. I said, what do? You take the 100 on the barbells? I says, no, dumbbells. And he does presses, sets of 12, 3 sets of 12 with 100. I said, that's a little bit out of my league, my man.
I was hoping you were going to tell me he was jogging 100 yards.
Yeah, right. He is.
Yeah, I would say it's a little out of both our leagues.
Oh, man. Yeah, he puts a lot of that stuff on social media, and it is just awe-inspiring to watch him work. Big part of this ball.
He's critical.
Oh,
it's right in the middle of the lineup, protects Robbie. Obviously going to do a lot of damage, hitting the ball out of the ballpark, driving in a lot of runs, and be in the lineup every day.
He's going to turn 30. He's a young 38. He'll be 38
I would
July
agree with
1.
that. Yeah.
Here's Seager. Then a comebacker to the pitcher. Starter Bert Smith. This is Jesse Hahn for inning number 2. good rip there, 1-1.
I'm talking about his workouts, and sure, I know anybody that worked any harder and was able to DH in this league for a long time as the hitting coach, Edgar Martinez. And so for Nelson, there's a guy right there that I'm sure he's had a lot of conversations with, and the way these guys take care of themselves today, he just doesn't seem like he's going to slow down at all, not anytime soon.
That will get past the diving Mondesi. Nelly make his way to third, so the Mariners brewing something here in the fourth. A walk and a base hit, runners at the corners. Buy more and save. Discounted tickets. They're available for groups of 20 or more. Flexible seating options, private hospitality, and picnic packages are all available to complete your group stay at the ballpark. For more info and to book your 2018 group date, visit mariners.com/groups. Good setup here for Mike Zunino. Tell you what, even at his age now, Edgar Martinez, I see him in the gym periodically, and
yeah,
he works. Tell you what, he will leave some pools of sweat. He's
working hard.
He does an interval program that is just phenomenal. He just cleaned up after himself.
A pretty good example for all these young guys that get a chance to watch him too.
Oh man, he's outstanding. 1-1 to Zunino. Took a called third strike his first time up. Hope to see Mitch Haniger back in action in the next few days. That'll be a welcome sight. It's everybody.
Scott Service was saying this morning that on Monday the medical will check him out and then hopefully turn him loose.
One good thing, well, a lot of good things, but this lineup looks impressive. Once they get everybody on deck and healthy.
Well, that's one of the things when you look at it that you have to be impressed with is because we've talked about it a lot over the last few years, and it's the guys in the middle of the lineup. But now, today, we started off talking about Gordon and Segura at the top of the lineup, and then just the overall length at the bottom of the lineup is something that I think is going to be difficult for a lot of pitching staffs to work their way through. A couple of fastballs away from Mike today. Borderline, he thought they were off the plate. It'll be a strikeout. But yeah, it's I think it should be impressive. When you think of what Haniger was able to do last year when he was healthy, what Gamble did most of the year, and they're going to be at the bottom of your lineup.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And you got Zunino down there.
Yeah, with 25 home runs from last year. Yeah.
Bottom third looks pretty good. Mixing at a little Heredia. Straight back, Kirk Neuenhuis. He struck out swinging on a 3-2 pitch back in the second. Inning started with Cruz walking, base hit Seager, sending Nelly to third, strikeout Zunino, and now Neuenhuis. No runs and 5 hits, an error for Kansas City. No runs, 2 hits for the Mariners. The other hit came from Robbie Cano, first inning. A 1-out single to left. Solidly stroked. That'll get down. Mariners have a 1-0 lead. RBI Kirk Neuenhuis going to third, getting there easily. Kyle Seager. The Mariners lead at 1-0.
Good to see him get on the scoreboard.
Kirk Neuenhuis with his first hit as a Mariner, first RBI.
The fastball up out over the plate. Hahn, he likes to sink the ball, but that was probably belt high. Just line drive into center field.
Kyle getting to third, no problem. There's Kirk. Chance from Matt Haig.
Matt walked his first time up.
Breaking ball for strike. As a veteran player, how antsy do you get? At what point do you get really antsy in spring training? I mean, the first week you just get a feel.
For me, it was probably that last week is the toughest because then you can see it, the opening day and getting the season started and the excitement of all of that. So it was that last week that was tough to get through. you know.
That will work. Base hit down the line, stays fair. Nieuwenhuis, the second, heading to third as Seager touches up. They try to throw back. Hague's back safely, 2-0 Seattle.
Let's continue to go first and third. Little inside-out swing. Take it, set up away. Pitch up, probably more in the middle of the plate, but inside-out swing right down the line, able to keep it fair. Yeah, I think it's that last week. There's a couple things that go through your mind. One, you're excited about it, and the last thing was, at this point, I cannot afford to get hurt. I just want to get out of here healthy.
Yes,
early in spring, you have time if you pull a hamstring or something to get things healed up. But that last week, I think, is when the guys really start to look towards it. And plus, you've been down here over a month.
And you've checked off all your boxes,
yeah,
right?
You're ready to go. Yep, you betcha. Good swing by Matt right there. As Jerry DiPoto the other day was talking about him, and he just talked about his ability to put the ball in play, use the entire field. And that's a pretty good example of it right there.
Yeah, Miller took a called third strike to end the second inning. His first time up. Miller 3 for 9 on the spring with an RBI. And for Hague, that was his second RBI this spring. Breaking ball hit up the middle. And let's see, they get the out at second. Another run scores. Runner at first is safe. And they just have a 3-0 lead.
Well, one of the things with Miller, we talked about it earlier, 43 stolen bases. He can really run, and the minute the shortstop bobbled the ball, you had to feel that he was going to be able to stay away from the double play. Pick up an RBI.
See if they run him.
Why not?
There's D. Gordon for the third time. Strikeout looking, ground out to third. And there goes Miller. They did run him. Look out. And Miller with a stolen base. Don't waste any time. You gotta like that. Ian Miller with his first steal of the spring. He's now 1 for 2.
And they'll move up to third. Probably, yeah, there'll be an error on the catcher. You mentioned not wasting any time. I like that, especially with 2 outs. If you're going to still get down there and give the hitter still a chance to work a count, get himself in a good situation. If you wait for too many pitches, then you're not going to give him much of a chance, especially if he has 2 strikes. So I like that as well. Good aggressive base running.
Scott Service got here 2 years ago. Said he wanted to get a run game going. Injuries, circumstances never really got materialized.
We also talked about the youth that they have now. We've talked a lot about D. Gordon and Segura at the top of the lineup, but they have some guys that can run. What'll be interesting to me is third baseman is playing even with the bag at third, but the first baseman is playing all the way back. And I'd be surprised if during the season you don't see that first baseman playing up too, with D. Gordon at the bat with 2 outs, a runner at third base, because he can really bunt and he can work both sides of the infield. And if he gets it down to the right side and he has to beat the pitcher, I think that's an automatic base hit. But because of spring training, probably the reason why they're staying back.
2-2, 2 out. Runner at third, 3 runs in for the Mariners. A full count. D. Gordon, Gene Segura is on deck. Jesse Hahn, 3 years, last 3 years in Oakland. First year in the bigs back in 14 with San Diego. 3-2 pitch. Dribbler goes foul. Jesse Hahn last year with Oakland, 3-6 record, 14 games, 13 starts, big ERA, 5.30. Three-two pitch to D. 2 outs. Look out. Oof. Reminds me of Ichiro a little bit, the way he's able to get that ball out of there. He keeping the bat alive.
See how much he chokes up on the bat, too?
Yeah. Bat control. Three-2 from Hahn. Second baseman ranging over. Mondesi. 50 out, but a good inning for the Mariners. They put 3 on the board, have the lead against Kansas City.
So I switched to CenturyLink.
Page, Arizona, a little bit north of here. Not a good place if you get claustrophobia. Here's Ramon Torres. It's KC Lawrence, fouls one back. Torres, the shortstop, switch hitter. Batting in the 8 hole, followed by Drew Butera and then Alberto Mondesi. Torres struck out 0-2 pitch first time up. Mike Leake, impressive. 3 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Picked a runner off at second.
How about 37 pitches, 30 strikes?
That works.
11 batters faced, 8 first pitch strikes. So working ahead. That's kind of his MO. KC Lawrence, this will be his 2nd inning.
Had some trouble down the line. Out of the box hard is Torres. And he's got an easy double. So lead off the Kansas City 5th. Hey, the time is on right now to join the club as a Mariners season ticket holder. Lock in the best seats at the best prices to catch all the action at Safeco Field in 2018. For more info on the many benefits you're going to enjoy as a season ticket holder, log on to Mariners.com/18. Catcher Drew Butera going to stand in.
Much of KC Lawrence pitched the 4th inning, back out there for the 5th. Gave up a couple of hits, was able to get out of the inning. Had 1 strikeout.
Butera took a called 3rd strike, 3rd inning. Bottom 3rd of the Mariner order coming through. Nieuwenhuis, Hagen, Miller with RBIs with a 3-0 lead. Through the whole base hit. Torres had to make sure it got through, so he'll stop at 3rd. You're hearing from Edgar Martinez coming up in the 7th inning. It's the second time in the spring Mariners faced off against Kansas City. Mariners lost at surprise last Tuesday, 14-9. Top of the order, here's Mondesi. Strikeout and a ground out to second. Solidly stroked on a short hop. Well played by Segura. Cannot get Mondesi, who was down the line very quickly. Torres scores. Kansas City on the board, 3-1 Mariners.
Yeah, Mondesi gets down the line as well as anybody. I'll take a look at Segura. Had to give a little bit of ground, kind of an in-between hop. Not an easy one to handle, but gets rid of it quickly, and it's too much speed. Not able to turn the double play. Fine play by Segura. We're talking about him at the start of the game, mostly about his offense, but he can play some shortstop. Nice play.
Boy, I don't have to tell you, but boy, there's some tricky hops down here.
Especially as you get later in the game, and we'll see it more and more as the temperatures start to rise. It'll bake the infield, and all the base runners they typically have down there. Yeah, it gets pretty tough.
It's called having a lot of confidence in those hands.
You better.
Either that or be in a good relationship with your dentist.
And you can look at the field. They do a great job with the field. There's just nothing that you can do about it. You put so much water on it before the game, but eventually it's going to dry out.
One out, runner at first. Merrifield takes a strike. Make that 1 for 2. Base hit to right, and a comebacker to the pitcher. Leak in the 3rd. Wind has settled down. The flag's in the batter's eye. Slight movement out there. Backs up. The right fielder. That's John Andresi out there. Well, Alex Gordon. You mentioned one of the few remaining names on this roster from the World Series team from just a couple of years ago. Salvador Perez, catcher, getting it today off. He is a fun guy to watch. Such a big man, so agile behind there, and gives you a good target. Got a tremendous throwing.
I think as you look at the American League, he's probably at the top of the class.
One-0 here to Gordon. Gordon a single to center, ground out to short.
We talked about it on the players that are missing from the Royals, and Gordon, Gold Glover in left field. They have playing center field this afternoon. Well, the former third baseman moved to left, now in center.
Lorenzo Cain in Milwaukee, and Gerard Dyson played here with the Mariners last year. As far as I don't remember seeing it up to the minute. He hadn't signed with anybody. Still a good number of guys out there.
A lot of them, yep.
So 3-0 here. There's outfield of Miller, Gordon, and Andrioli. Seager, Segura, Cano, and Haig in the infield. And Mike Zunino behind the plate, and told that Dyson, I tried a couple in the last week. Dyson signed with Arizona. Here comes Miller. Makes a play, and that'll do it. Kansas City on the board. Curtis Chris RBI. Mondesi makes it a 3-1 ball game.
Mariners spring training on Root Sports is presented by Dunn Lumber, building success together.
Welcome back. The Mariners put up 3 in the bottom of the 4th, and the Royals came back, chipped away, got 1. And that's where we sit right now, 3-1. Hi, everybody. Angie Mentink here, along with Bill Kruger. And in the backdrop of today's baseball game, we're kind of weaving through this theme of the upcoming 6 players that will be going into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. We talked off the top about Chipper Jones, and then Jim Thome's the next one on the list. And I can't help but love this story, Bill, because this guy was drafted in the 13th round and makes a 22-year big league career out of it.
Just goes to show you that not everybody's the #1 pick. It's like the opposite side of the coin when you talk about Chipper Jones. He carried the weight, right, of being the glamour boy, of being the #1 pick, where Jim Thome had to gain the respect, had to have the chip on his shoulder. A guy that didn't have the prototypical body, didn't look like the fluid baseball player that would become a Hall of Famer. But, you know, he's the prototypical old-school slugger, right? I mean, he's Harmon Killebrew from the left side. He's Jimmy Fox. And baseball loves those guys. They always have, and he put up monster numbers, did it for a long time, and it didn't happen overnight. He had to really, really work at it, and one of the really great guys in baseball. I don't think there's a person out there that would ever have a crossword about Jim Thome. Just an extra special person, and I think played a little bit in the shadows of some of those great Cleveland teams. I don't know if he ever got his just due until he actually got to the Hall of Fame and got his induction.
Yeah, and you mentioned he was loved. He played for 6 different teams, and I think they did all adore him. Let's bring in the guys down in Peoria. And Mike, if it had been 13 at-bats, well, then you knew in the next one where he hadn't homered, you knew in the next one he was probably going to homer. And as Bill said, it wasn't like he was this fantastic athlete, but the guy just worked so hard.
Yeah, he did, and I can tell you that when he broke into the big leagues, and these people that you're mentioning, they were all in my era. I ended up playing against all of them. But for Jim, the thing that I remember is he first broke in, he was at third baseman. And at that time, the Cleveland Indians were trying to build their club. You mentioned they had a lot of great players, and eventually they would and do a lot of great things. And Jim was a big part of that. But he was one of the first ones on that club where at the end of the year, I remember him getting, I think it was a 3, 4, 5-year contract. And I thought to myself, what are they thinking about? What is it? I mean, Jim Thome, are you kidding me? Well, then the next thing you know, they moved him to first base. And as you mentioned, it's a ton of home runs throughout his career, worked really hard. But the Indians were the first ones to do that with a lot of their players, and Jim was certainly one of them. And if you'd asked me when I first saw him in the big leagues, would he be around for 22 years and put up those Hall of Fame numbers? Probably not. But there's something to say. Obviously talented, but a lot of hard work went into it, and just a terrific guy.
Yeah, 612 home runs, 8th most in Major League history. Dave, what do you remember about him?
Well, I was lucky enough to catch some Cleveland games working on another network years ago in the 90s when he was with Cleveland. And I just remember one time I asked for a request for an interview, and he said, I can't do it now, but I'll see you in 20 minutes over here. And he showed up right on the minute, and it was a delightful interview. I know Ken Griffey Jr. speaks very highly of him as a person, and, you know, the interactions I've had with him over the years have been fantastic. And recently I saw him on TV on MLB Network doing a demo at first base and showing how different things on how to play the position, fielding wise, how to play the bunt and everything. He is such a low-key yet dynamic guy, friendly guy, you know, real warm. And I tell you what, one of the strongest guys I've ever seen, too.
Yeah, and this is something Bill certainly can appreciate, too. We talk about it today in today's game, and all these guys trying to lift the ball, uppercut, swing. He was the guy that basically invented that, man. He was before anybody's time and could hit anybody's fastball. Didn't really matter at a time when most of the time everybody's trying to pitch down. That was right in his wheelhouse.
And just did it the old-fashioned way, right? I mean, there's not a whiff of bad rumor about this guy in performance. You can sort of picture him like every summer, because I grew up in Illinois, so everything south of Chicago is southern Illinois. That's farm country. So he's not that far from Chicago, but he's definitely farm country. And just imagine him just setting records for throwing bales of hay on trucks. You know, I mean, and to me, you can appreciate that with a lot of the innuendo out there about players. There's nothing about that with Jim Thome. He did it the all-natural way, and just kind of like you said, Dave, he's an all-shucks guy. He's never changed. Just absolutely someone that you'd love to be around all the time, and but not having to face him.
No.
Not liking that. I faced him a little bit, not liking it, not wanting it, even left on left. So, yeah, Jim Thome, great story, and what an honor for him.
I was mentioning that he homers every 13 and change at bat. So he's at 13.76. Only Giancarlo Stanton, Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, and Mark McGwire homered in every fewer at bats than
How about that? 8 guys over 600. He's one of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That is absolutely fantastic. All right, guys, we'll send it off to you.
All right, Ange. All right, Bill, thank you so much. Yeah, one of the really good guys, and he's even beloved in Philly.
Yeah.
They love him down there, what he did when he came over late in his career.
Not surprised.
Yeah, just an earnest guy. Good people. That's what it was. Ken Griffey Jr. said that Jim Thome, Mike Sweeney, and Adam Dunn, he said it's like the same guy. They have the same vibrant personalities. Robbie dunks one in. He'll hold with a single. 2-hit day for Robbie. 2 for 3, couple of hits to left field.
A little bit inside-out swing. Typically early on, it looked like a cutter trying to get it in on his hands, and it jams him but fights it off for a base hit. So a lot of the veteran players early in spring training, and they'll probably hit the ball the other way, stay up the middle a little bit more.
Brings up Nelson Cruz. Pop out, walk and run, scored. What do you say, Mike? Time for a little boomstick action.
I'll be curious to see for Nelson. Again, these guys are just starting to play. They didn't play the first few games.
Gets it down to third. There's 1, and there is 2. And that'll do it for the Mariners in the 5th. No runs, a hit, no errors, nobody left. 5 complete here, 3-1 Mariners.
Leaded 3-1 down in Peoria. A reminder, folks, that baseball is back and Root Sports is taking you to Peoria for Mariners spring training coverage. Tune in Tuesday at 5:40 Pacific to catch the Mariners taking on the Rockies in Cactus League action. Root Sports, your home for Mariners baseball all season long. Angie Bentek here along with Bill Kruger. And coming up later this summer, the Hall of Fame will induct 6 players on July 29th. Trevor Hoffman, one of those guys going in. We've talked about Chipper Jones and Jim Thome. And this guy was one of the most consistent closers to ever play the game. This guy had at least 20 saves 15 times. I mean, that's consistency, Bill.
Well, I had the opportunity to play with Trevor Hoffman for a couple of seasons and saw the type of work ethic that he had. He was one of the hardest working, right with Dennis Eckersley, a guy that really worked hard away from the field to get himself ready to go. And great story. I mean, he came into baseball as a shortstop, you know, couldn't hit. and went to pitching, and boy, closer's role was made for him. And it's a great story because it shows young people that you can be a Hall of Famer without being a really hard thrower. He had an incredible changeup that was a weapon. And it led to this, like, amazing bar that he set in the saves category. And, I mean, I think the closers and the relievers, that's a little bit of a Pandora's box that's now opened. I mean, you know, I think the DH is going to close, but the box for relievers is open. But I think his numbers were so astounding that he's an absolute bona fide Hall of Famer.
Second only to Mariano Rivera's 652 saves. He had 601 saves in 18 seasons. And Mike, I mean, this is a mark that no pitcher before had hit.
Yeah, he's amazing, and I think one of the things for myself, and I knew this when he was in the middle of his career, the fact that what Bill talked about, him being a position player and making the switch and coming up with that changeup. Wow, what a life-changing pitch that was for him. So a terrific player. Obviously, his fastball, as Bill mentioned, also was in the low 90s, but his changeup was the big thing for him. And you didn't really see a lot of guys that threw the changeup. Doug Jones, I can think of, but didn't have the velocity that Trevor did. So obviously, I think he is also well deserving to be in. And by the way, Dave, 500 hitter off of him, 1 for 2.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Owned him. Attaboy.
But you heard Bill right there, owned him, yeah. It was a solid ground ball back up the middle, Bill, and I'll take it.
52 hopper.
It doesn't matter.
Well, also, that goes to show you what a fantastic pitcher he was. You remember that hit off of him.
That's right.
No doubt. All right, guys, thanks. We are in between innings now. Mariners still lead it by 2, 3-1. We're back after this.
Home 6th here in Peoria, Arizona. Enjoy more Mariners baseball for less. New this year. 25 BECU value games on select Sundays, weeknights, and holidays. Save big with main or club seats for $30 or select bleacher or view seats for only $15. For a full lineup of games, visit mariners.com/value. Bottom of the 6th inning. And a new pitcher for Kansas City. Right-hander Josh Staumont, S-T-A-U-M-O-N-T, 6'3", 200-pound right-hander from La Habra Heights, California. On AA and AAA last year, Royals organization, 25 starts, 6-12 record, a 5.56 ERA.
Kyle, 1 for 2 this afternoon. Off to a good start this spring. I believe he's 6 for 10 now with the 1 for 2 today. Been using the entire field.
go.
Another one. Again, going the opposite way. Good
He's ready to start the season.
Yep. Good start to this 6th inning for the Mariners. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Good to have you with us, everybody. Dave Sims, Mike Blowers, Root Sports crew. Chase DeYoung heating up.
Pinch runner for Kyle. Chuck Taylor is going to run, number 88.
Come on, he doesn't have any Converse on. Come on. What are you doing?
He's holding out.
I figure he must get about 100 of those a day. Mike Zunino looking to put it in place. Been rung up twice by home plate umpire Roberto Ortiz.
Both on borderline fastballs away from him.
You bet. Good count for Mike 2-0. Inside. Mike has added another. He and his wife Alyssa have added another dog to their collection. They have a beagle, and they just picked up an Australian Shepherd. Saw Alyssa with the dog over at the complex last week. Beautiful little dog. Little Sophie. Walks on 4 pitches. It's John Andrioli. Andrioli's first at bat today. Comes in 2 for 8, 5 games this spring. 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Stolen base. Two on, nobody out. Breaking ball missed. 4-2. Speaking with Edgar Martinez, Mariners hitting coach, top of the 7th inning. Stick around for that. Swing and a miss, 1-1. There he is. He'll play next time. We're down here next year at this time. We'll be saying Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get in there this year, and it was looking really good for him, as we were talking about a bunch of the guys that have made it. But I think Edgar will be one of them next year for sure.
Those early trends were looking very good for him. 1-2. Andrioli hitting in the 7-hole, vacated by Kirk Neuenhuis, who struck out, drove in a run, scored a run. 1-2. Beat him with some heat there.
96 miles an hour. Good fastball.
1 away. Mike Ford's first at bat. Here's Mike, third baseman and pitcher, Princeton University. Coming out of Rule 5 guy, coming out of the Yankee organization. Had a nice talk with him today. Conversion over to first base, gone well for him. One thing I said, you know, you got that guy to your right. He says, yeah, I had a couple balls hit that one. I took a step and I went, oh yeah, that's right. Get back to first. We're good.
Yeah, let him handle it. He'll be fine.
The other thing he said he appreciated, he says, man, everybody, every throw is right there at your chest. I said, well, it is the big leagues, as you know. He said it's real. He's enjoying himself here.
Yeah, if you're trying to learn first base, it's a pretty good infield to have around you.
Eric Mejia is playing at second base for Kansas City. That will go off the glove. The pitcher covers. Everybody's safe. Bases loaded. Infield hit Mike Ford.
Maybe he had twisted an ankle trying to make that play. That will be an infield hit. We'll take a look at it. Well, maybe it would get through, showing some range. Deflection gets it right there. As you can see, his left ankle. That pretty much ended the play, but that'll be a base hit. A lot of changes for Kansas City, as you might guess, this time of spring.
Pretty much emptied the, well, I wouldn't say emptied the bench, but they've certainly sprinkled it. That's
A lot of bodies.
Yeah, buddy. It's like a college football roster, and the home team dresses 110 guys. Here's Ian Miller. Struck out looking, and a fielder's choice RBI.
Also picked up a stolen base. 43 steals for him last year between A ball and double A.
Mariners got 3 runs on 3 hits. Bottom third of the order. Neuenhuis, Haig, and Miller drove in runs. Bidding for more here in the 6th with 1 out, bases loaded. Oh, and 2. Outfield now. Brewers, Starling, and Collins. Infield, Schwindel, Lopez, and Mejia. Parker Morin is behind the plate. So Ned Yost giving a lot of his kids an opportunity here. And a comeback. 1, 2, 3, double play, and they turn it. Mariners threaten, don't score. Still lead 3-1. Mariner lead over the Royals here. 7th inning action coming your way. Sign up your little sluggers for the 2018 Mariners Kids Club. MVP memberships are only $25, and they include a Mariners backpack and cap, $1 ticket vouchers, plus exclusive MVP experiences, including autograph sessions and batting practice viewings. Register today at mariners.com/kids. Mariners Hall of Famer Edgar Martinez, Mariners hitting coach, joins us right now. Gar, good to see you, man. How's everything?
Good. Everything is good. How you guys doing?
Doing well. First of all, I'm still ticked like everybody else in baseball, specifically the Pacific Northwest, that you didn't make it to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. But next year, my man, it's going to be your year.
Well, hopefully. I think the percentage went up a lot, so it's hope.
Well, we're all hoping, Gar, and I was really disappointed, as Dave was too. I really thought this year, especially when the percentage was as high as it was early on, that you were going to get in there. But like you said, I think that you'll go in next year. When this is going on, are you sitting there watching the entire time? How do you handle it?
No, you know, I was very open-minded. I know the percentage in social media. I thought it was a good opportunity to get in. But at the same time, I knew that every year, the last couple of weeks, percentage usually goes down. So I was very open-minded. At the beginning, I didn't track it too much. But the last week, I was paying more attention.
Hey, Gar, this spring a little bit different. You guys are down here early, and you started the games quite a bit faster than you normally would. What's that been like for the guys only getting a couple of days to practice before they have to face live pitching?
Yes, you know, it's a little different. But, you know, I think our guys, they work really hard during the winter, and they come in really good shape. All they have to do is just take swings in the cage and during BP, and you know, now it's time for them to see more live pitching, and I expect that they will be fine.
I was thinking about you today, Gar, when I was outside before the game started, and not much of a breeze. It was pushing 70 degrees, feeling a little better. When I saw you the other day and I shook your hand was frozen because you're out there. So nobody appreciates the warm weather like you do.
Oh, I know. You know, it's been cold in the mornings, and we go to the cages very early in the morning, and I mean, it's been like in the 40s early in the morning, so it's nice to see that it's getting warmer now.
Hey, Gar, give me an idea of some of the young kids that may have impressed you to this point.
Yeah, you know, it's a few guys that you know, they've been working really hard, and they're early, and it's doing a lot of great work, and it's several guys. Mike Marjama is looking good, so I'm excited about the young kids.
Hey, Gar, with all this going on, and I know it's something that you used to do a lot during spring training, but as far as going over to the minor leagues on particular days, will these guys start to do that as they get a little bit later in camp if they're not feeling good, or do guys not do that anymore?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't quite get the question.
I was just saying that when you used to play, you used to go over. If you didn't have enough at bats or you weren't feeling good, you go to the minor league camp and you would like lead off for 4 or 5, 6 innings. You anticipate the guys doing some of that because you had such a quick start.
Yes, I think some of the guys probably will do that once minor leagues start playing some games down in the other fields. So far, you know, we're just waiting and see who will need extra swings, and but I expect some of the guys to go down.
Just for me, the last thing, Gar, talk about Kyle Seager off to a great start. And the one thing I've noticed with Kyle so far here early on, he's using the entire field, including today.
Yes, he's looking really good. He worked during this off season, and now, you know, if you see at the beginning, the first game, there were some teams doing the shift, and now they're not. There's not much shift on him. And if he keep that up, I mean, it's going to be good for him the whole year.
Is that something that you guys talked about, trying to beat the shift because they did it so much on him last year?
We didn't talk especially about that, but we did talk about, you know, not concentrate too much on mechanics and just see the ball where it's pitched and just, you know, just attack the ball where it's pitched.
Edgar, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on D. Gordon. We've talked a lot about him up here. Your thoughts on what you've seen to this point?
Man, I'm excited to have D. Gordon in the lineup. I mean, you know what he can do when if he get on base, it's gonna create a lot of opportunity for guys. And pitchers make more mistakes, so I like what I see. He knows his swing. He have a routine, and he always have an idea at the plate.
Now, you've seen some guys over the years that can bunt. How's he rate?
Oh, he's way up there. I mean. And, you know, he can also fake the bunt and slap it through, you know, past the third baseman. So yeah. I'm looking forward to see that one.
Gar, you already have Hall of Fame numbers. How good would your numbers be if you could get down the line like that in your career?
I know. I didn't get many infield hits, but it would have been great. It would have been a lot of fun.
It's a weapon. I mean, Mike and I talk about it all the time, and from running into Rod Carew periodically. I mean, there's a certain amount. He's got to try it 5, 6 times, 10 times a week, don't you think?
Oh, I know. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see him, you know, the whole year playing with the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Hey, Edgar, keep up those good workouts. We see you in the gym, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Gar.
You too.
He's the best, I can tell you that.
Yeah. That's a scary thought. If he had speed and could have bunted with his hitting ability.
Yeah.
Oh,
no kidding.
That'll do it for Kansas City in the 7th. Mariners lead it by the count of 3-1.
And here you have a Bond.
Royals trailing your Seattle Mariners by 2, 3-1 as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Hey, we're taking a closer look at the 2018 Hall of Fame inductees. The next up on the list is Vladimir Guerrero. And Bill, I'll start with you. He one of 13 players in Major League history with multiple seasons of 30 home runs and 30 steals. I mean, this guy just had this crazy combination of power and speed.
Yeah, I think probably fans in Seattle or AL fans probably don't appreciate that as much because most of that was done when he was a younger player in Montreal, where he could really play. I mean, he could flat out throw with anybody. Of course, a little bit scary sometimes, but really covered ground, really could run, and then became this amazingly accomplished hitter. To have that many homers and hit .318 career is phenomenal. And of course, maybe the best bad ball hitter of all time. And there's one thing to take a bad ball and put it in play, but he could take a ball off the shoelaces or above his head and hit the ball out of the ballpark.
So true.
This is a ditto. Watching this guy, you knew he was a Hall of Famer. It just was an automatic in my mind. He was that fantastic of a player.
I mean, Mike, think about the hand-eye coordination that it takes to do some of the things that he did with a bat. I mean, literally, as a pitcher, you're thinking, I'm going to waste this pitch at his ankle. No, you're not. He's taking it over the left field wall.
Yeah, you can't teach it, or nor would you want to.
No.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Hall of Famer, but he was terrific in a hand-eye coordination. Like as Bill said, there aren't many like that. I was thinking about it myself, and closest I come up to it, Bill, was Kirby Puckett, who was a terrific bad ball hitter too. But for Vlad, maybe even to a more extreme because of the power and even how much further he could expand. And Dave, you and I were talking about it. We saw a pitch that was bounced and then get a base hit off of that.
And I tell you what, that thing got torched. It was a bullet. And the thing that jumps out at me about Guerrero, and we got to see him in the latter stage at the back, it looks like the back half of his career. You could feel the temperature change in the building when he came to the plate. It was like, oh, no, here we go again. Good. Be careful.
Bill, I would really like to see what it was like when you were in the pitchers' meetings and what they would discuss on how they're going to try to get him out. Let me know.
Yeah, it would have been, I don't know how you expand the zone with him. So good luck with that. There just isn't, you know, if you're going to bounce it, it has to hit the grass. I honestly don't know. I think you're right. I mean, Puckett was a lot like that. I'm old enough, of course Dave is. Mike, you're not old enough to remember Manny Sanguillen, but he was a lot like that too. A guy that could hit 330, 340 and never saw a pitch he didn't like to hit. So, but you know, Mike, it's like we watch players, and you know when you see a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He just is. He just is a Hall of Famer. And the kind of damage and the presence he had in the lineup and his ability to deliver, and he just flat out stoned baseballs.
Yeah, I think the one thing for me that when I saw him early on with Montreal, the only concerning thing for me is I was wondering how long his career was going to be because he would walk to home plate like Mickey Rivers. You know, his feet hurt, his knees hurt.
No kidding.
And then he would hit the ball 450 feet and steal a couple of bases. Just a terrific player, a lot of fun, exciting player, and one of the best throwing arms I've ever seen.
We hadn't even touched on that. I mean, he would get the ball, and you hear the cliche all the time, but when I think about his arm, that's what I think of. It was like it was shot out of a cannon. I mean, because he even kind of lumbered through his throwing motion, and then all of a sudden he'd do this little slow kind of crow hop, and then like, boom.
And, you know, right field is that premier position where you talk about great throwing arms. You talk about Dwight Evans. You talk about Mondesi, who came up today. You think about Roberto Clemente. We can go through the list. He's right there. He's in that top 10 guys as far as guys that could throw in right field.
And let me add 3 other guys to the pantheon of bad ball hitters who were very successful. Roberto Clemente, Yogi Berra, and Smokey Burgess on the '60 Pirate Ball Club that won the World Series. But it's certainly
nicely done, Dave. Smokey Burgess, very nice.
I remember I got his card every year, and we used to see the Pirates every year in Philly. Absolutely.
Oh, that's good stuff. Hey, don't forget. Remember, Ichiro. He'd bounce it and pick it up as well. All right, guys, we're headed to the 8th. We're back.
Mariners spring training on Root Sports being brought to you by Dunn Lumber, building success together, and by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. The toadstools on the Utah-Arizona border. There's Mark of beauty out here in Arizona. Breaking ball from Chase DeYoung. Frank Schwindel misses. Chase in his second inning of work. He brought up a good one when he talked about Kirby Puckett.
Yeah.
Hitting bad balls. Hit him like Vlad. Hit him hard somewhere.
What a great player.
And the thing that amazes me about all those guys that we mentioned, it's a lot of nerve to swing at those pitches, let alone square them up. You know, it's like that's some serious confidence. Baseball's back at Safeco Field beginning Thursday, March 29th with one of the biggest events of the year, opening night. Festivities include red carpet introductions, fireworks, and more. Great seats to opening night presented by Key Bank. They're still available at mariners.com. Here's Tyler Collins
The other thing I was thinking about when we were talking to Edgar, a lot of things we talked about with Jim Thome, just his personality and the way people thought of him in high regard, and never having anything bad to say about him. You can say the same about Gar, and just how humble he is after such a great career.
I thought coming down the stretch, I guess, December, and I'd see Tim Kirchin and guys at National Baseball Writers, and they'd start throwing out these numbers. I'm thinking, how do you ignore
300,
that?
400, 500.
Yeah, that was the one. I remember the first time I heard that, I think, talking to Timmy last year.
Kirchin?
Base hit, yeah. And he ran that one by me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And I went, yo, I was unaware of that. Yeah. It's extraordinary. And then you hear arguments, guys come up with arguments. Well, he's a DH. Yeah, he wasn't flipping pancakes. He was part of the game.
DH has been around for a long time.
Come on.
And there are a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame that are there because of their offensive numbers. So I just think that, you know, in today's game especially, Dave, his case gets stronger when you start to look at all the analytics that we look at now. It makes him even a better player.
Totally agree. And that's, you know, with Felix having won the Cy that year when he didn't have the big win number, but the analytics were so overwhelming. I thought that would be in play here with Gar.
Well, I think it's helped him, and hopefully that's the thing that's going to eventually push him over the top and get him into the Hall of Fame where he belongs.
But, you know, like you and everybody else, I thought this was the year it was going to get over the top.
I'm with you on that.
Jorge Soler. 0 for 3, strikeout looking, foul out, and strikeout swinging. High towering fly ball down the line, and that ball is gone. Soler, team from the Cubs a couple of years ago, monster home run. Guys have scored 3. But he gets a height on that.
Yeah, as high as he hit it, I thought it was going to be able to make the catch maybe on the warning track. But we'll take a look at the location of the pitch. They wanted that down and away, and he made a mistake with it. Left it middle end, belt high, towering fly ball, but had enough of it.
Bubba Starling, his first at bat. Oh, 2 here. Getting with the breaking ball. Very snappy there.
Yeah, well located on the outside corner.
Donnie DeWeese, next hitter.
We were talking about Edgar, and the last thing for me on it is I can't imagine how many managers and how brutal it must have been to see the best player on the planet that I have ever seen, Ken Griffey Jr. standing in the batter's box and Edgar standing on deck.
That's not good.
Not sure anybody else could have protected him better than Gar.
Off the end of the bat, a little squibber. Dug out by Mike Ford. Chuck Taylor throwing him out. 2-run homer by Soler ties a 3-3 ball game, bottom 8.
The Mariners are very focused on playing this baseball game. We're just having a fun little conversation about the Hall of Fame, the inductions that will happen later this summer, lamenting the fact that Edgar Martinez won't be going in this year, but next year we believe that that is going to happen, no doubt about it. So the next one on the list is Alan Trammell, and it's kind of interesting because you have a couple guys that you know, basically played their entire career with one team. We talked about Chipper Jones off the top, and here's another one with Alan Trammell.
Another really great guy, a former teammate of mine. I got to play with him for a couple years. Both he and Lou Whitaker, the longtime double play combination of the Tigers, but kind of at the beginning of the great offensive shortstop. That really wasn't part of baseball until he and Ripken came along. Yeah, he doesn't have quite those laudy numbers, but at the shortstop position, 185 home runs, hit over 300 numerous times, was you go back in the mid-'80s, the early '80s, I mean, he wasn't just a player out there. He just wasn't a nice offensive shortstop. He was a threat. He was a guy you had to be very concerned about in those great Tiger teams in the mid-'80s. He was a great player, plus very fundamentally sound. You're going to have a lot of flashy shortstops. This guy made all the regular play every time.
Yeah, and you knew when he took over as skipper of the Tigers back in 2002 that this guy, you know, wasn't going to accept anything less than his players' best effort. Mike.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. The thing I think about is just what Bill was talking about when I was first breaking in and played against the Tigers for the first time. And obviously, as not just a player but a fan of the game, I obviously knew who Trammell and Whitaker were, and to watch those two go about their business. But I think the thing that surprised me the most is what Bill was talking about, and that is I saw him hit a home run against us, and I was shocked by it. And it looked like it was a pitch that maybe it was in off the plate, and I could not believe the way he turned on it and hit it out of the ballpark. I always respected the fact that he made every play that you would want to make, especially late in games. But offensively, he was a real threat.
No, and he's not a big guy either. I mean, yes, he was an offensive shortstop, but he was old school in his makeup, his body.
Yeah, I mean, he was really a shortstop. I'm not going to disparage Ripken because he played the position and it was an Iron Man and all that, but Ripken's really a third baseman that played shortstop. I mean, Trammell is a shortstop and had great offensive numbers at the position, and he was lightning on the inner half. You couldn't mess around with him. I mean, that great Tiger team, you know, you had Parrish in there, you had Kurt Gibson. Those guys were pitchable, but Alan Trammell, he was a problem.
Yeah, and both Alan Trammell and our next person, Jack Morris, were actually inducted into the Hall of Fame, not through the Baseball Writers Association of America, but actually through what used to be called the Veterans Committee. Now it's called the Modern Era Baseball Committee. And Jack Morris, Alan Trammell's longtime teammate, will go in with him.
Again, just the eye test for me. I mean, I played against this guy when he was one of the best right-handers. You talked about Clemens, you talked about Morris. He took the ball, he pitched deep in games, he had 175 complete games, of course, really won the 1991 World Series for the Twins, had some monster years. That ERA is a little high, but, you know, it's about staying in games, and it's about pitching to win. And I think that's just, he represents all of that. All of us starting pitchers, I would refer to me in that way. Is that what we esteem to be? How deep in the game can we carry it? How can we keep the team in the game to win? And that's the way he pitched baseball. Dominant pitcher in my eye, deserving, probably long overdue.
And I've heard him kind of talk about that. You know, you look at the 254 wins, you know, but you wonder in some days he stayed in longer probably than he should have, and maybe wouldn't have so many losses, and maybe could have been in a better position to get different wins or different ways, or wins in different ways. What do you remember, Mike, about him as a pitcher?
Oh, and Bill will appreciate this, that crooked plate in Old Tiger Stadium. he could run it off that outside corner. To me, it looked like it was a foot outside, but for some reason, they always called it a strike. I never understood that part, and then come back with a split and put you away with a terrific pitcher, well ahead of the game, excellent command all the time, and then, you know, getting a chance to watch him in the postseason was phenomenal. You know, I just remember all those different things. But as a young player trying to figure things out, I was a no contest for him. And it made me a better player just trying to think along with him and try to figure things out. But certainly deserving, has been for a while, I think.
What do you guys think about the new modern baseball era committee? It started in December. of 2017 to sort of take a closer look at the players like this. And I mean, obviously there was always the Veterans Committee, but now you got, you know, this sort of different minds, different group, all
I like
take another look at it.
I think it's a great idea, and I run up my flagpole. Dick Allen should be in the Hall of Fame for the numbers he put up during the course of his career, and I've talked to so many of his contemporaries who, I mean, they almost get insulted that you even ask the question, is he a Hall of Famer? And I think, get another set of eyes on it. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes mistakes are made and you get a chance to correct them. But I certainly think Dick Allen and Jack Morris, I mean, what's there to think about? Hall of Famer. Come on, Bill and Mike were right. Passed the eye test with ease, winning his pitcher in the 80s. Big game after big game. So what, his ERA was microscopic. The way, you know, some guys make that a major requirement, but he pitched. He, you know, kept the bullpen from getting crushed. He stayed in, and he was on an offensive team. So if he gave up 4 runs, big deal. They knew they were going to get 6 or 7. And he could go deep in games. And when he needed crunch time, I mean, you think of the 91 game against, against the Braves, where he go 10 innings to win that game. I mean, come on. The guy had, his numbers are out. His numbers and his performances and his worth value to the teams were off the chart.
Yeah, and I think it is important, you know, and I'm hearing you guys say it, is to hear the different voices, because I think that's one of the things that's pushing Edgar right now and making sure that he gets into the Hall of Fame is listening to, obviously not necessarily just specifically on the modern era committee, but that the guys that had to play against him, the guys that had to pitch against him, you know, the guys who had to try to figure out how to get Edgar Martinez out and couldn't.
Well, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say to me, and having watched him a number of years and fortunate to be able to call him a teammate, it seemed the better the pitcher, the better that he was. And it's a real compliment to an offensive player in this league when somebody says he not only hits, but he hits the good pitching. Not many guys can say that. Yeah, it's kind of fun to see how all the sabermetrics that didn't exist back then and how they apply now, and just how good Gar was. All right, we got a tie game. We're headed to the 9th.
We live
Buy more and save. Discounted tickets are available for groups of 20 or more. Flexible seating options, private hospitality, and picnic packages are all available to complete your group stay at the ballpark. For more info and to book your 2018 group date, visit mariners.com/groups. Moments ago, Scott Service holding up 9 innings. Pretty sure that's what I mean. And we're done. No matter what the score.
He's letting them know that the pitching part of it, probably they're a little bit short on that, and 9 innings is enough for today. And I thought it was interesting listening to Scott this morning on that part of it, and he was starting to talk about how he's going to have guys for a couple of days anyway this spring show up right before the game and not have the early morning workouts just to give them a little bit of a break because everything's happened so fast, especially early on. I think they're going to have one of those days tomorrow. Sounds Friday and Sunday, it sounds like, and I think that's a great idea because these guys, if you open up the doors, they're going to be there waiting to get in. And sometimes you have to protect them against themselves.
Good call. Show and go.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
It's also remarkable just what, the 4th pitcher as we pitch in the 9th here?
On March 1st.
On March 1st.
It's a record.
That's going to get down. Braden Bishop retrieves it, gets it back in. Base hit for Jack Lopez. Jack Lopez is aboard with a base hit and bring up the shortstop, Nicky Lopez. Chuck Taylor, 3rd baseman for the Mariners, in on the grass. Shows bunt, and he gets it down. And Mike Ford makes the play. And Munoz covering. Advancing the second, Jack Lopez on the sacrifice. So 3-4. Pinch hitter, Ryan O'Hearn. And my unofficial scoreboard, I've got 1 mound visit for the Mariners and 1 mound visit for Kansas City. So go ahead run is at second base. Bradford, second appearance, retired all 6 batters he faced against the Dodgers on the 25th of February. Bradford picked up off waivers from the Mets in January. 2-0, 3 holds, a 3.74 ERA, 28 appearances for the Mets last season. Done well, or did well, against right-hand hitters, holding them to a .190 batting average. 1-1, 11 saves at AAA Las Vegas. It's out of the University of Central Florida, 35th round back in 2011. They stopped by Margin. Very pleasant day. Temperature 68 degrees now. 2-1 pitch. It's hit in the right field. Andrioli coming up. That bobbled run's going to score. Kansas City's got a 4-3 lead. Ryan O'Hearn with an RBI single.
And a sacrifice bunt pays off for Kansas City.
Jack Lopez scoring easily. It's going to bring up Eric Mejia. th hit for Kansas City. 4 runs on 11 hits, 2 errors. 3 runs, 7 hits, 1 error for the Mariners.
Got him 0-2 now. Next TV game, or next game tomorrow, I should say, against Milwaukee. And this is the final time we'll see Kansas City. In the spring, we'll see them in the first month. We'll see them April 9, 10, and 11 in Kansas City. Back end of the first road trip. Ball and 2 strikes.
Be back on TV Tuesday night, 5:30 Pacific. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, all at 5:30.
All night, yeah.
Mariners are off on Monday. Everybody gets a day off on Monday. And we'll pick things back up on Tuesday night.
This week it'll be Colorado, Oakland, and San Francisco, all right here in Peoria. Matter of fact, next week back-to-back days with the Giants, a Thursday night game and then a Friday afternoon game. We'll see the Giants. Mariners be their season home opening opponent. And the double play is nicely turned by Chris Mariscal. That'll do it. Last stops here for the Mariners as Kansas City puts a run-up on the board to lead at 4-3.
For the best in live music,
Working. I see you working. Royals have taken the lead as we head to the bottom of the ninth right now, 4-3. We want to make sure you join the conversation, folks. For up-to-date game information and live interaction, be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out and stay connected with Root Sports. Or you can follow us individually on Twitter as well. Guys, back to you.
Angie, thank you very much. Here we go. Bottom 9. And the new pitchers, Heath Philmeyer. 6'1", 180-pound right-hander from Roebling, New Jersey.
Typical of spring training. All the kids are in the lineup for the Mariners now, so let's see if they can score a couple of runs. Nice day out on the berm. Right around 70 degrees today.
Here's Mike Ford going to lead it off. Check swing, strike one. Mike with an infield hit in his first at bat back in the 6th inning. 8-9-1 coming up here for the Mariners in the 9th inning. Wind not the factor it was earlier in the week or a week ago when we got here. It's gusting. First few games he played here, that one hit straight back. Playing straight up for Ford. Flip foul.
Billmeyer mixing it up, staying with his fastball at around 93. Mixing his changeup with it. That last changeup at 83 miles an hour.
Billmeyer coming over from Oakland in a trade January 29th. Double-A Midland last year, 11-5 at 3.49 ERA. Tied for the Texas League lead in starts at 29 and second in wins and 5th in ERA and innings. Two-two pitch. Full count. And a 3-2 pitch, swing and a miss.
Gets him on the changeup. It's so difficult, especially early in camp. Everybody is trying to hit the fastball early on, and to recognize the changeup is difficult. That usually takes you, oh, I don't know, a week to 10 days to start to pick that up. Especially in a 3-2 count, you figure you're going to get a fastball, but that wasn't the case.
Anthony Jimenez. Breaking ball off the end of the bat. 0-2. Part of the day for a veteran player who's dismissed after a couple 3 at-bats after about the 3rd inning. Guys usually go to a favorite restaurant, they go tee it up, or just go to the gym. What do they do?
It depends. Most of them will all work out at some point, but some of them, if they're not happy with the way they're swinging, they may go in the cage or go in one of the backfields to hit some more. But they're certainly going to work out, maybe get some running in.
Center field. Nice diving catch out there. Bubba Starling getting it done, 2 down.
Good concentration. Looked like it was knuckling on him a little bit too. Right off the bat, pretty good break on it. See the ball slicing back towards him. Anytime you're diving straight in, that's a tougher play. So, well done.
Braden Bishop, last hope here for the Mariners. One. Braden Bishop 3 for 6 with an RBI in this spring. Ball 2 strikes. 2-2. Heath Philmeyer trying to close it down here for Kansas City. Back. Four runs, 11 hits, 2 errors for KC. 3 runs, 7 hits, an error for the Mariners. 2-2.
Well, Braden's battling. Another one of the kids that had a pretty good year offensively last year. Talked about Bishop. Everybody knows that he can play center field, but his offensive numbers improved.
Payoff pitch.
Spoiled a pretty good pitch right there. That was right on the outside corner.
A lot of new faces, a lot of young kids. This guy's going to have to really battle in that American League Central against Cleveland and Minnesota. There's a 3-2 pitch. Lost it. Tying runs aboard.
See, he's got to let him steal a base. Pretty good speed.
There's Chris Mariscal. Took a called third strike his first time up. Pretty good lead. Mariscal 0 for 2 in the spring.
Royals have a couple of relievers getting loose now, a lefty and a righty.
Long hold. And strike.
For Philmeyer, now 21 pitches in the inning, and early in spring training they'll be careful with the young pitchers. Selman and Vasquez getting loose for Kansas City.
Mariscal got a battle here, 0-2. Mariners down to their last strike, 0-2, 2 out, down 4-3. Miss got him, game over. Kansas City wins it 4-3.
Well, I think today the big story is going to be Mike Leake again, another strong performance. He ended up going 3 shutout innings, but more importantly, it's the command, and it's something we talk about with him. 37 pitches, 30 strikes. Good to see a couple of guys in the middle lineup. Cano with 2 hits, and Kyle Seager. He's been as hot as anybody. Another 2 hits for Kyle Seager this afternoon.
Our next telecast coming up on Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time against Colorado. We'll be back with more right after this.